celebrated them. Because of pandemic measures, the Super League was played with no spectators this year, and hopefully next season will be with spectators that fill their stadiums. In basketball, on the other hand, our Anadolu Efes team has gained the EuroLeague championship, and the head coach Ergin Ataman, as well as the president of the club Tuncay Özilhan, we have called them and we have shared their joy. We congratulate those who contributed to winning this championship, especially Ergin Ataman dedicated his victory to our martyrs, which was very significant on behalf of myself and our nation. For the first time, we have been the aerobics champion of the world thanks to young athlete Ayşe Begüm. I called her and I congratulated her and wished her further success. So recently, from wrestling to box, from karate to judo to archery to swimming to volleyball, in many different branches, our athletes have been very successful, and once again, I would like to congratulate all of them on behalf of my nation. In the last Friday of the previous week, we inaugurated one of the most important transport projects of our country, the Northern Marmara Highway. We have carried out the inauguration of the last phase, between the Habibler and Hastal conjunctions, the highway, which is 400 kilometers long, is now coming into service. The Nakkaş-Başakşehir section, which was later added to the project, will be completed as soon as possible. This highway will connect Istanbul and the Marmara region, as well as the whole Turkey. From Edirne, you will be able to enter a divided highway, and you will be able to travel for more than 1,000 kilometers without hitting into any lights or any residential areas, all the way to eastern Anatolia. Passenger and goods transport will be faster, more comfortable and more safe, and this new transport is contributing to our country in every area, and we continue seeing the benefits of this. In many other places, our rapid rail lines are also under construction, and once they become operational one by one, Turkey will experience a new leap in transport. At every corner of our country, we have 56 airports in total, and with them, we have entirely resolved our air transport issue. And when it comes to maritime transport, we continue bringing major projects, mega projects to our country. This weekend, we're going to inaugurate the Filios port, and with that, we will have taken a big leap in that regard, both in rail, land, and maritime lines. We will integrate them to each other. We plan them in a way to be integrated to each other, which means the transport, which is a requirement for development, has been resolved. On the journey of a big and strong Turkey, we hope that all these steps that we take will be auspicious for our country. During the opening of the last section of the Marmara Highway, I reiterated that we still have a lot to do for our country. We still have a lot of works to build. The most important heritage that we leave to the young people will be our 2053 vision, and in order to reach that, we still have a lot of work to do. Sultan Alparslan paved the way 1,000 years ago, and on this journey, on the vision that Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror gave us at the walls of Istanbul, or as Atatürk founded our republic almost 100 years ago, we continue on this journey with excitement and with love, and we continue bringing Turkey to its targets on the direction that our nation points us to. or the goal that we are given by history, we continue to meet the needs of our nation and our country. We do not want to waste time with made-up agendas or dark plans. We don't listen to those who try to bring us down to such limited visions. We have hosted, for instance, the Polish president in our country last week. We have had very fruitful talks, and for the first time we are selling unmanned UAVs to a NATO and EU member, and we have signed the agreement that makes this possible. So starting with NATO, Turkey is fulfilling its responsibilities to the international organizations that it's a member to, and as long as we see the same from those organizations, we continue our cooperation and our relations. On Wednesday, we held the group meeting in the parliament, and we discussed some of the topics on the country's agenda. The same day, in the evening hours, we have met with the high-level leaders of some American countries. We have had long and fruitful talks. The representatives of the companies that attended our meeting, we have informed them about the economic situation of our country as well as its outlook and its perspective on foreign investment. We also had a chance to answer the questions of company representatives, and we once again demonstrated our country's dedication to support international investors. One of the darkest days of our near history was the coup of May 27th, and on the occasion of that coup, we have met with the representatives of our party at the Yassıada, or as called by our nation, Yaslada, or with the new name that we gave to it, the Island of Democracies and Freedoms. We met on the island and we commemorate martyred late Prime Minister Menderes and his colleagues, and we also talked about democracy and freedom's journey of our country, and we shared once again with our nation the will to bring our country to freedoms and democracy. And then we inaugurated the mosque at the Taksim Square, which was a long dream of our nation. Already it has become one of the important landmarks of our city, and on the 556th anniversary of the conquest of this city, this has been a gift to the residents of Istanbul as one of its landmarks. There are certain groups, of course, which say that this important landmark, they may not see it as unique or as a symbol for our city. They may see Sultan the Blue Mosque, Süleymaniye, or Fatih Mosque, or Eyüp Sultan Mosque as landmarks. Of course, those are already symbols and landmarks for our city, but they were the landmarks of those, their respective centuries. But this one that we have built, for instance, the Grand Çamlıca Mosque on the Çamlıca Hill, has become one of the landmark works of this century, and the tower that we have erected there has cleared up all the visual pollution, and building a tower there will enable close to 100 radio stations to broadcast jointly from the same tower, and people will also have the chance to view Istanbul from the observation deck on the tower, and with that it's one of the landmarks of our century. There were some disturbances about the Taksim Mosque, but those are people who are disturbed by the footsteps of a strong Turkey or the fear of protecting the freedom and future of our nation. In democracy and freedoms, Turkey will claim its deserved position among the top countries of the world, and we continue working day and night in order to fulfill that promise to our nation. On this occasion, I would like to congratulate everyone who made the Taksim Mosque possible, especially the family, the Elmas family, which undertook and which donated this construction to us. On Saturday, we inaugurated the Çamlıca Tower, which is a new landmark and a gift to Istanbul. People who know the previous shape of Çamlıca would appreciate the beauty of the new form, the beauty that it adds to our city. After the Grand Çamlıca Mosque, the tower is now also complete, and with that the shape of the Istanbul Bosphorus has changed in this section, and I hope that this tower will serve well to our country and our city. And I congratulate the minister and all the workers and engineers that built the tower. The same evening, we have celebrated the anniversary of Istanbul's conquest. We shared the excitement of the athletes who joined the archery competition through a video conference. On this occasion, all the NGOs, universities, especially the youth of our country, I'd like to make a call to all of them. The conquest of Istanbul's 600th anniversary, in order to shape our vision for 2053, which is the 600th anniversary, we should start preparations already. 32 years may be long for a human life, but in communities' lives, this is a very short amount of time. We first expressed our vision for 2023 10 years ago. So when you consider that, for the 2053 vision, we should start working immediately. With brainstorming and with various meetings of different sizes and medium and long-term analysis, and with political, social and economic roadmaps, we should start our efforts to shape the vision for 2053. We have done politics and tried to serve on the heritage of coup decades, and we know how valuable such a vision would be for the young people. The top legacy that we can leave for our young people would be this vision. It's our wish that the 2023 elections would be carried out in a discussion climate that considers the 2053 vision, and we are determined to fulfill our part. Hopefully, after a century, we will be able to trust our country to the young people with the discussions and the vision in the right place. For a year and a half now, both the world and our country has been targeted by the pandemic, and we have fought against it on every front. After our most recent Council of Ministers meeting, we have declared a package which offered support to every segment of our nation with a number of aids. In total, our aid and grant has reached 661 billion Turkish liras, which have contributed to the economy of our country during the pandemic without facing any major economic or security challenges. Today, compared to national revenue, Turkey is among the top countries which offered the top support to their citizens. Not everything is going perfect in the world, and problems are not only being experienced in our country. That is the way some people are trying to depict it. And when it comes to this, we cannot compare our country to others who have much smaller populations, and such comparisons do not have good intentions behind them. For instance, today we have received the growth figures for the first quarter of 2021. You are closely linked to the media and you follow these figures closely. Our economy grew by 7% in the first quarter of the year, and among G20 countries we are number 2 after China, which probably would be appreciated by the members of the press and our nation who are watching us at their homes. The most striking item in growth was machinery and equipment investment, which grew by 30%. This situation tells us that investment continues, and in the upcoming period, production and employment will further increase. Another important development was in urban development investment. 925 economic investments and projects have received investment of 800 million Turkish liras, and for 2,500 infrastructure projects, 196 million Turkish liras have been granted, which means our country has gained 10,000 new jobs, and with 3,400 projects, 2.3 billion liras have been made available in the form of urban development aid, some of which was in grant form. For farmers who are under threat of drought, we have offered 150 million Turkish liras in order to modernize their irrigation systems. Last week, after our joy of natural gas in the Black Sea, we have shared the good news of finding oil in 3 pits inland, and hopefully in the upcoming days we will be sharing new positive news with the public in the area of energy. On the other hand, in vaccination works, we are among the top 10 countries of the world, and we are a country which has achieved this despite not producing vaccines, and hopefully we will have our locally developed vaccination before the end of the year. June will be a month of a vaccination movement, and we will do our best. BioNTech, Sinovac, and Sputnik vaccines, agreements have been completed for them, and in June we will receive the highest number possible, and we will very quickly administer them to people. We are making preparations for it, and Turkey's fight against the pandemic has not been behind some other European countries, but it has been quite more advanced compared to those, as everyone would observe and appreciate. With our normalization timelines, since there's a decrease in our cases, we normalize in a similar fashion with European countries. Of course, as I mention all of these, it does not mean that we close our eyes to realities. In the past 6 months, we know that there are some shop owners who could only open their shops for a month in the past 6 months. We have introduced certain limitations, for instance, only home delivery for certain groups of businesses, and lockdowns have negatively affected the personal lives and businesses of many people. We know that we have children who could not go to school and have lost some time, and they have also faced many physical and psychological problems because of this. We know that weddings or business meetings have all been postponed, and we know the problems that are caused by such postponements. During this process, we know that our nation has been challenged and their patience has been tried. And with the coming of the summer, we know that it's both difficult and irrelevant to keep our people in their homes, and we know that domestic and international travel will be more frequent. We also know that during this period there have been people who try to mislead our nation, no matter what their titles were. We keep all of these into consideration, and as we make our decisions, we aim for the best for our people and our nation. Our only goal is to ensure the health of our nation and the security and peace of our country, and to prevent any damages that are difficult to compensate. For that reason, we use every opportunity and every light and every window of opportunity that we can find. Since the day the pandemic broke out, we have had many opening and closure decisions, and the reason was that we did not want this problem to have big impacts on our country and our nation to the extent possible. For instance, during the month of Ramadan, we had partial and full lockdowns, and some of those measures have been replaced by gradual normalization steps starting with 17th of May. And in the 2 weeks that has elapsed since then, there has been partial decrease in the number of cases and mortality. Even if it's not at the level that we desire, it's still at a considerable amount, which shows us that our measures are reaching their purpose. In today's cabinet meeting, we have discussed some gradual normalization steps which will come into place starting tomorrow. In this regard, we have made some decisions that I'm going to declare soon, and the goal will be not to bring our country back to the days of the pandemic. We take our decisions carefully, and the number one threat, not only for our country but for the whole world, would be the unforeseeable results that are caused by the different mutations of the virus. In some European countries, vaccination efforts and some other very strict measures have been taken in order to decrease the number of cases to thousands, and with mutations it's seen that the number of cases are increasing once again. By closing our borders or locking our citizens into their homes, and by isolating we could not isolate ourselves from our region and the world, which means it is inevitable for our country to face similar challenges as well. In our fight against the pandemic, we use all of our means to the extent possible so that the process can be overcome with the least amount of damages possible. We will continue working for this purpose. So the members of the press and our nation watching us from their screens, now I will share with you the gradual normalization timeline for the month of June. During June, the lockdowns will be from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. This limitation on the weekends will be 10 p.m. on Saturday to 5 a.m. of Monday, which means the whole Sunday will be lockdown. During July, these limitation intervals and days will be changed depending on the progress that we make in our vaccination efforts and in the number of cases and mortalities. Restaurants, cafes, and similar places that serve food will be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Based on the limitations that we set, and until midnight they will be able to carry out home delivery. In such venues, on Sunday only home delivery will be offered. For a month and a half, local coffee shops, cafes, tea gardens, football pitches, sports stadiums, and amusement parks will be able to open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., excluding Mondays, starting by tomorrow. And other businesses will be opened, except for Sundays, at the given hours. The wedding ceremonies in indoor and outdoor areas and other wedding ceremonies will be carried out in line with the rules starting 1st of June. Universities for the 2021-22 education year will begin on 13th of September. Sports clubs will be able to hold their general assemblies from the first day of June, and other organizations from the second half of June. The flexible working hours in public institutions will continue until further instructions. Further details can be found in the declaration that will be published by the Interior Ministry, and I hope that these new measures will be auspicious for our nation, and I pray to God that both our nation and the whole humanity will be saved from this trouble as soon as possible. And once again, I greet all of you with my deepest regards.